Ever feel like you're juggling a million things at once?
Oh, yeah.
Like you're answering emails in one meeting, texting about dinner plans in another, all while trying to appear like you're listening to both.
Guilty as charged. The struggle is real.
It's become second nature, hasn't it? But what happens when the stakes are higher? When a small slip-up could mean, well, disaster.
That's what we're diving into today.
We're taking a close look at the work of industrial safety expert Charly Wigstrom Broncheur and their take on what they call, I love this, industrial hypocrisy.
It's a great term.
It is. So tell us a little bit about that. What is industrial hypocrisy?
Companies really pushing for, peak employee competency, but at the same time, overwhelming those same employees with a million tasks.
It's like telling someone to juggle bowling pins blindfolded.
Exactly. Our brains just aren't wired for true simultaneous processing.
Right.
Charly really distinguishes between multitasking, which is more like rapid task switching,
Okay.
and then simultaneous multitasking, where you're trying to do multiple things at once. And that's where things get...
That's where the wheels fall off.
Yeah. Especially in places like chemical plants, aviation, those high-stakes environments where even a small mistake can have huge consequences.
Absolutely. So it's not just about, getting less done. It's about those critical errors that can happen, right?
Exactly. Charly calls this cognitive overload, which we've all felt. That feeling of your brain just being completely overloaded, like a highway with way too many cars on it. Eventually, you just hit gridlock. Decisions slow down, mistakes happen, and in these high-stakes environments, the consequences, like we said, can be really, really bad.
And to really drive this point home, Charly actually talks about a study that was done in a chemical plant.
This study found that those workers who were multitasking were 35% more likely to make an error in a critical procedure.
Wow.
And these are folks responsible for, really complex systems, sometimes hazardous materials. A mistake there. Huge impact.
35% is a staggering statistic. It really shows that even the most skilled, highly trained people are still human.
For sure.
We all have our limits.
Yeah, it's not just chemical plants either. Charly brings up aviation, which is known for, super rigorous safety protocols.
Right.
Even there, 40% of human errors were linked to multitasking. This is based on, incident reports.
40%, wow. In aviation, where precision, focus, it's everything. That's a scary thought. 40%, it really makes you think twice about those cockpit announcements, doesn't it?
Right. It really highlights how we might think we're expert multitaskers, but in reality...
Our brains just aren't built that way.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is that this isn't just limited to, these extreme environments. We all deal with cognitive overload in our everyday lives.
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. How many times have you tried to write an important email while also texting your friend back and keeping an eye on the news?
It's a recipe for disaster.
Exactly. Typos, misunderstandings, you name it, it definitely affects the quality of what we're doing.
Exactly. And that's really the key point here. It's not just about efficiency. It's about the quality of work and the decisions we're making. But the good news is that Charly outlines some really practical strategies for combating these risks.
Okay, so let's get into the solutions then. What can be done, especially in these high-pressure environments, to reduce this cognitive overload?
Well, one of the most important strategies is having standardized procedures.
Okay.
Charly talks about this a lot. You can think of it like a chef following a recipe. They have this clear step-by-step process, right? And it minimizes the need to make a bunch of decisions on the fly, especially when you're under pressure.
So it's like instead of having to improvise in a chaotic situation,
Yeah.
you've got that roadmap to follow.
Exactly.
It really helps to reduce that mental clutter.
Yes, exactly. It creates order.
Mm-hmm.
And along with those standardized procedures, time management. Huge.
Success, yeah.
And this goes beyond just being organized. It's about recognizing the value of focused attention, like setting aside those specific blocks of time for certain tasks and really minimizing distractions.
Right.
These things aren't just good for productivity, they protect our cognitive resources.
We have to start treating our attention as this valuable resource.
Yeah.
Not something that can just be endlessly divided.
100%. And we can't forget about technology here either. In a lot of industries, they're bringing in automation and monitoring systems to take care of those more routine tasks. And this really frees people up to focus on those big picture problems and more critical thinking.
Right. So it's like having that co-pilot in the cockpit to take care of those routine things so the pilot can focus on, the bigger picture.
Yeah.
But it does make you wonder, if all these industries are investing so much in counteracting multitasking, why does it still feel so pervasive? It's like we can't escape it.
Right.
We think that doing more somehow equals, being more.
Yeah, it's the allure of looking busy. We mistake that busyness for actual effectiveness. But what happens is we sacrifice quality and accuracy.
Right, and our own mental health, I'm sure. But it begs the question, are we really saving time if we're constantly making mistakes? Having to go back and fix things? At that point, are we really being efficient?
It's such a good point. And, Charly's work really pushes us to rethink that whole relationship with multitasking. And here's the thing. This all goes way beyond just industrial settings, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Think about driving.
Oh, gosh.
Trying to text or even just changing the radio station in traffic.
Or eating.
Oh, yeah. All of that adds up. Increases our cognitive load. It's putting us and everyone else on the road at risk.
It's a good reminder that our brains have limits.
They do.
And pushing those limits, especially when safety is involved, that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. And we can't forget the impact on our mental well-being either. All that multitasking all the time, it can really take a toll. More stress, burnout. It can even affect our cognitive functions in the long run.
It's like running a marathon with no break.
Yeah.
Eventually, you just crash.
Exactly. So as we kind of wrap up here, I think the takeaway is, recognizing our limits isn't about admitting defeat. It's about working smarter, not harder.
It's about being more intentional, prioritizing, giving ourselves permission to just focus.
Yes, and maybe, just maybe, if we let go of that need to do it all at once, we can actually achieve more, make better decisions, and honestly just live healthier, more fulfilling lives, both in and out of work.
It's about working smarter, not harder. I love that. Well, there you have it. Something to think about as you go about your day. Until next time, remember, sometimes the most productive thing you can do is just focus on one thing at a time.